You know, people are already buying their tickets to space. That's happening via Virgin Galactic, which is selling $250,000 90-minute trips to outer space starting in 2021. The tickets are already sold. They've got a ton of more customers that are already expressing interest. And this is the kind of thing that's had a ton of demand, but zero supply. And we're value investors. We look for things that are going to change the world and can provide a lot of long-term value. But here's the thing. Sure, space tourism is cool, and sure, it's going to generate a lot of money and get a lot of people buying those tickets. They already have a whole lot. The market cap's a little over $2 billion. They're going to make a good portion of that per year just on space tourism. But the big play that we're doing when we're buying space is we're buying the satellites. We're buying the internet. So AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, etc., that's just America. Then you go around the world. These companies, they are billions and billions, and if you combined all of them, hundreds of billions, maybe even $1 trillion, I'm not 100% sure on that, worth of valuation and market cap and revenue. And that's only going to grow. These companies, internet's becoming more and more of a thing all the time. Data's becoming more and more important. As soon as we get things like hospitals and doctors doing surgery from Brazil in, New York or whatever, that whole thing, internet's going to become more and more important. But what Virgin Galactic is going to be able to do is they're essentially direct-to-consumer internet. So AT&T and Verizon, they're kind of a middleman, between the satellites and all this stuff. Virgin Galactic is making the satellite themselves, and they're sending the internet to the people across the entire world. So they're making a whole grid, just like SpaceX, which we'll get into the competition in a second. And they're transmitting the internet direct to consumer. That's a big trend that, we're kind of doing now as we get rid of middlemen and stuff, is going direct to consumer. So direct-to-consumer internet's incredible. SpaceX is the competition, but Virgin Galactic, they've got a lot of capital, they have a lot of aviation and engineers and a whole lot of experience, and they're already pre-selling their product before, the internet isn't here. 5G's kind of coming on board, but they're showing us that they can make money, that they'll be a profitable, viable business, at least likely. So I like Virgin Galactic. Now let's get into the competition. So sure, this all sounds great, but there's a good market, and there's a lot of nations, there's a lot of wars essentially, and that happens in the market too. So SpaceX is doing a very good job. They've got Starlink, which is a similar comparable system, but there's competition. It's a big market. If you can eat up a portion of that market, you're going to be making a lot more than $2 billion, which is what their current market cap is. So we're acknowledging the fact that there is going to be competition, and there's probably going to be a third and fourth player. There's probably going to be other people who come into this space too. But space has a lot of potential. And sure, it's an unknown market. It's a new frontier, as they like to say. It's a new frontier. But we're value investors. We find the long-term plays, and we make our money in the long-term game. That's what Warren Buffett was about. He was all about finding the value. Sure, there's going to be a lot of different sodas, but you know what? Coke was a winner, and we buy winners. We play the long game. So SpaceX has a very similar product. They're, maybe more ahead in terms of the reusable rocket, and that's going to be very valuable. In terms of bringing the satellites up, right? Like, it's a lower cost to reproduce rockets. But that technology is going to be dispersed. Virgin Galactic has, they've got Virgin Airlines. They've got their own satellites already and everything. They've got some of the most interesting spacecraft you've ever seen in your life. So if you want to really see some cool automobiles, I guess, right now, and aviation equipment, go look at, like, the Virgin Arsenal and everything they have. They have good engineers. They can produce a good product. I have no doubt that they're going to be able to compete, maybe even surpass SpaceX in this game. Richard Branson has done it with basically every single industry he's touched. I am positive he's going to be able to do it with space. And I'm very excited to see what happens with the stock. At the very low $2 billion market cap right now, I think we can get at minimum, 10x multiple on this. I think easily 100x multiple on this if we really play it in the long term. I think this is a good stock. I think it's a good buy. It's already up since I started telling my friends and family to buy it at $8 a share a couple months ago. You got to buy it now while it's cheap, otherwise you're going to miss out. Watch this video in a couple years and be like, shit, I should have listened to him. Buy the stock now. It's cheap. Make your money.